You get the same amount of time every year, 365 days, 8,760 hours, 525,600 minutes, exactly the same as the year before. Physics hasn't changed, the clock on the wall hasn't changed, nothing about the structure of time has changed. And yet, somewhere between childhood and wherever you are now, a year stopped feeling like a year. Summer used to last forever. A single school week could feel like a month. Waiting for a birthday felt like waiting for a geological era. Now decades pass like long weekends. That's not a feeling you're imagining. It's not nostalgia. It's a real, measurable, neuroscientifically documented phenomenon. And it has a precise explanation. An explanation that, once you understand it, tells you something important. Not just about time, about attention, about memory, about what a life is actually made of. Let's start by dismantling the most basic assumption. You probably think of time as something you receive, something the brain measures, the way the eye measures light. A signal comes in, the brain reads it, you experience duration. That's not how it works. There is no time receptor in the brain, no single organ, no dedicated structure that tracks duration the way the retina tracks photons. The brain constructs the experience of time, assembles it from multiple systems: memory, attention, emotion, metabolism, prediction. What you feel as how long something took is not a readout from an internal clock. It's an inference, a best guess assembled from various signals that all change as you age. Time isn't measured by the brain, it's built by the brain. And once you understand that, everything else follows. The oldest explanation for why time speeds up is called the proportion theory. William James proposed it in 1890. The idea is elegant. When you're 5 years old, 1 year represents 20% of your entire lived experience. When you're 50, 1 year is 2%. Each successive year is a smaller fraction of the total, a smaller chapter in a longer and longer book. So each year feels shorter relative to everything that came before it. It's clean, it's intuitive, and it's partially right. But it's incomplete. It explains why years blur together in retrospect. It doesn't explain the day-to-day texture of time. Why a boring Tuesday still feels endless even at 60, or why a thrilling week at 10 could feel over before it started. Proportion captures the macro. It doesn't name the mechanism. Here's the mechanism. The brain doesn't store time. It stores events. More specifically, it stores new things. When the brain encounters something genuinely novel, a first experience, an unexpected moment, something that doesn't match its predictions, it encodes that experience richly, densely. It allocates resources, pays attention, builds a detailed memory. When the brain encounters something familiar, the same commute, the same conversation, the same breakfast, it processes the experience efficiently, with minimal resources. Sometimes it doesn't encode it at all. Think about what this means for childhood. Every experience is a first. The first time you rode a bike, the first time you stayed up past midnight, the first time you traveled somewhere new, tasted something strange, understood something difficult. The brain is encoding constantly, hundreds of distinct, richly detailed memories per year. When you look back on a year of childhood, there's enormous material there. The year feels full. It feels long. Not because it was longer, because the brain took a photograph every few minutes. Now think about a year of routine adult life. Same job, same apartment, same grocery store, same route, same lunch. The brain processes all of it efficiently. It already knows what to expect. It doesn't need to encode. When you look back on that year, there might be a handful of memories, a few photographs in what should be a full album. The year wasn't shorter, the brain just stopped taking pictures. And a photo album with 10 pictures feels much shorter than one with 500. even if both cover exactly the same span of clock time. Here's something that makes this even stranger. There's a difference between how long something feels while it's happening, what researchers call prospective time, and how long it feels when you look back on it, retrospective time. These two don't just differ, they actively go in opposite directions. A boring afternoon feels endless while you're in it. You're watching the clock, aware of every minute, highly attentive to the passage of time itself. But when you look back on that afternoon a year later, it takes up almost no space in memory. Nothing was encoded. It's gone. A fully absorbed, thrilling week feels like it flew past while you're living it. You're not watching the clock at all. Time seems to compress. But looking back, it takes up enormous space in memory. Everything was encoded. The week feels full, rich, long. Boredom feels long in the moment and short in memory. Absorption feels short in the moment and long in memory. That reversal is one of the most counterintuitive and important findings in time perception research. And it explains something that many people feel but can't articulate. Life can simultaneously feel like it's going too fast and like nothing is happening. Both things are true at once. You're absorbed in routine, processing it efficiently, not attending to it, so it feels compressed in the moment. And because you're not encoding, there's nothing in memory, fast and empty at the same time. Now I want to go one level deeper, because the novelty mechanism connects to something more fundamental about how the brain works. The brain is not designed to experience the world freshly. It's designed to predict the world efficiently. Every experience you've ever had has trained a predictive model. The brain builds expectations about what's coming next, what things will look and sound and feel like, what will happen after what. And when reality matches the prediction, the brain barely registers the experience. It doesn't need to. The prediction was right. Nothing to update. Familiar routes, familiar conversations, familiar tasks, familiar emotions, all processed below the threshold of conscious attention. The brain handles them on autopilot and moves on. The cost of that efficiency is presence. When the brain doesn't need to attend to something, it doesn't. When it doesn't attend, it doesn't encode. When it doesn't encode, time passes without leaving a mark. As you get older, the predictive model gets better. You've seen more, done more, experienced more. The model is sophisticated, it's accurate, it's efficient. And the better it gets at predicting the world, the less of the world it actually registers. The speed of time is, in a real sense, the price of expertise. There's something else going on underneath the cognitive level, something biological. Metabolic rate decreases with age, heart rate drops, core body temperature declines slightly. Neural processing speed, the rate at which signals travel between neurons, gradually slows. There's compelling evidence that subjective time perception is tied to metabolic rate. Children with higher metabolic rates and faster neural processing may experience more discrete moments per unit of clock time. Think of it like frame rate. A camera running at 60 frames per second produces footage that looks smoother, more detailed, fuller than the same scene shot at 24 frames. If the brain processes the world at a higher frame rate in childhood, more distinct moments of perception per second of real time, then a given duration simply contains more experience. As metabolism slows with age, the frame rate drops. Fewer discrete moments per clock second. Each unit of time contains less experience, and less experience feels shorter. This isn't just analogy. Studies show that time estimation is directly affected by body temperature. Warm the body and time feels slower. Cool it down and time feels faster. The biological clock and the psychological clock are not separate systems running in parallel. They're coupled. They influence each other. And as one slows, so does the other. Emotion adds another layer. The amygdala, the brain's emotional processing center, is deeply connected to time perception circuits. Under threat or intense stress, time dilates. The classic experience, a car accident that takes a fraction of a second but seems to unfold in slow motion. The brain under threat shifts into maximum attention mode. It encodes everything, every detail, every millisecond. Subjective time stretches because so much is being processed per unit of clock time. Under calm, familiar routine, the amygdala is quiet, attention is low, encoding is minimal. Time collapses. Emotional states don't just color experience, they regulate the apparent speed of time. And as life becomes more emotionally predictable, fewer crises, fewer peaks, a more regulated emotional range, time moves faster. Which brings me to the question this all points toward. How do you slow it down? If time speeds up because the brain stops encoding, because the world becomes too predictable to register, then the answer is precise. Force novelty. Not comfort, not routine. Novelty. New environments, new skills that require genuine effort and attention. New people whose minds you haven't mapped yet. New challenges that the prediction model can't handle on autopilot. The evidence supports this consistently. People who travel to unfamiliar places, who learn demanding new skills, who put themselves in situations where the brain can't coast, they report that time feels more expansive. Not just in the moment, in retrospect. Looking back on a year of genuine novelty, the brain finds a rich archive. The year feels full, long, inhabited. The prescription for a life that feels long isn't to slow down. It's not to do less. It's to encounter the world as if you're new to it, as often as possible, for as long as possible. Childhood wasn't long because you were young. It was long because everything was new. And here's where this stops being neuroscience and becomes something else. The brain encodes what it pays attention to. Time only takes up space in memory if something happened that was worth encoding. A life of routine, no matter how successful, no matter how comfortable, no matter how carefully optimized, is a life that the brain processes efficiently and doesn't store. When you look back, there's not much there. Not because nothing happened, because nothing surprised the prediction machine. The question this leaves isn't about time, it's about attention. What you attend to is what you'll remember. What you remember is what your life will feel like it was made of. The experience of a life that passed too fast is, at a neurological level, a life that was mostly predicted. A life that the brain handled on autopilot and filed away. And the way to have a life that feels full, that feels long in the best possible sense, is to remain a beginner. To stay in contact with things the brain hasn't learned to ignore yet. To keep putting yourself in situations where the prediction model fails and the brain has to wake up and actually pay attention. Now, one more thing. The one that I think makes all of this genuinely urgent. Time, in physics, is symmetric. The equations of motion work equally well forward and backward. But subjectively, time has a direction. And that direction is irreversible. The moments that pass without encoding, without novelty, without attention, without genuine presence, don't get stored, and they're not recoverable. You can't go back and re-experience a Tuesday you spent on autopilot, this time with full attention. The brain's efficient processing is permanent. What was handled below the threshold of conscious awareness left no trace. It's gone. This means the question of why time speeds up as you get older is not just intellectually interesting, it's urgent. Not as a reason for anxiety, but as a precise, neuroscientifically grounded reason to pay attention now, not later, now. because the brain is running its prediction model at this moment, processing what's familiar efficiently, deciding what's worth encoding and what isn't. Whether this moment, this specific, unrepeatable moment, gets stored, whether it takes up space in the archive of your life, whether, looking back from some future point, you'll find it there, that depends entirely on what you do with your attention right now. The clock on the wall gives you the same time it always has. What you do with it is the only question that was ever worth asking.